Hi, Eaglemont family. I've talked a fair bit about the book of Psalms in the Old Testament over these last number of months. The book of Psalms has been for me a source of strength and encouragement in my own journey as a disciple of Jesus. I just love David, who wrote most of the Psalms. I love his honesty. He asks God some tough questions sometimes. Sometimes it's almost, David, are you sure you want to say that? But I've learned out of that God's big enough to handle our tough questions, even sometimes our questions that come out of a place of frustration or even anger. But what we learn is that we don't stay there. David didn't park there because that's actually a place of spiritually dangerous place where bitterness can set in and poison our hearts and minds. What we learn from David is that he always comes back to his expression of his commitment to trust in God and in God's character. Yesterday, in my time alone in God's Word, I was reading in the New Testament and then also in the Psalms, as I most often do. And I was in Psalm 13. A couple of verses jumped out at me, and I noticed I had them underlined from a previous reading, and I knew right away yesterday that I wanted to share them with you in this video. Yesterday, they strengthened me inwardly, and I pray they will you as well. Psalm 13. Verses 5 and 6, New King James Version puts it this way: "But I have trusted in your mercy. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me." Bountifully is not a word that we use often, but it's basically saying, God, you've provided absolutely everything, outwardly, inwardly, everything that I have need of. You always have, you always will. So there's three powerful phrases, statements there that are really life-shaping. And if we allow those to sink into our hearts and minds and that be what we express to God in challenging times or any time, can just be real spiritual lift in that. I like the New Living Translation, the way it puts these two verses. "But I trust in your unfailing love. I will rejoice because you have rescued me." New Living says rescue. New King James says thank you for your salvation. And of course, that's what salvation is. It's a rescue. It's a rescue from the trap and torment of sin. It's a rescue from the eternal separation from our Creator that sin will ultimately result in unless we surrender to Jesus Christ. So these are big things. And then the New Living says, "I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me." The New American Standard puts it, "I will sing to the Lord because he has looked after me." And God is looking after you. It may, as you look around, seem like there's just so much challenge and difficulty and questions and anger and whatever. But God is, I want to reassure you today from his word. I want you to hear his word because his word tells us about his character. And David is describing the character, the faithful, loving, caring character of the same God that we as Christ followers are living for today. So please let these verses lift you up. He is looking after you. And so again, in sharing these two simple but powerful verses with you, I just really hope and pray that you'll be drawn to God, that you'll be drawn to his character, that you'll see in a new way even today God's heart and love and care for you. I'd encourage you to take some time throughout the day today, maybe in the coming week, to reflect on these verses, to maybe write out your own wording of some of what you're reading in these verses, your own expressions of thanksgiving for God's faithfulness and forgiveness and provision and whatever it is that might come to your heart as you think about your own life, in line with how David was expressing his thanksgiving for who God is and who God was in his life. I hope that's encouraging for you today. Eaglemont family, you are in my prayers. And I invite you, church family, if there's a way I can be praying for you specifically, fire me an email and I will join with you in prayer for whatever it is you might share. Marlo at eaglemontchurch.ca. And it would be a privilege to pray for you and with you. Have a great day.